Both of my grandparents were born in the most unfortunate time and in the most unfortunate of places. They survived the war, left Europe, and never looked back. And many, many years later, on their deathbed, both of them told me, "Do not dare to go and visit there." But I did. When I checked into this hotel, the receptionist informed me that they're upgrading me to the suite. They were so happy. It was the first time in history a foreigner, a real tourist, has checked into their hotel. But then, the receptionist asked me for my passport. I gave him my passport, and when he opened it, the smile disappeared from his face. He saw that I am from Israel. I wonder where the people here got their anti-Semitism and prejudice from. My mom's father was from this village. Mordechai Schechter was his name. He told me all about this town. He said this town was the most vivacious of this region. Here, Hasidic Jews were floating in the air. Rabbis and miracle workers dwelled here, just like in the Hasidic folk tales. This is your typical Marc Chagall-looking town. Ha! In this synagogue, my ancestors prayed for long life. They are all dead, but the synagogue still stands. Next to the synagogue, the Nazi headquarters. The former Nazi headquarters. Here was the Jewish quarter. Today, there's a park. After the Germans sent all the Jews to die in Belzec, the Ukrainian locals stole everything from the houses of the Jews. Everything from jewelries, furniture, windows, doors, until not even a single brick was left. Not a single Jewish house remains. My grandpa told me where his house was. He told me how he used to jump from his window straight to the Bog River. Here was his last jump. To you, Grandpa. I didn't want to be here in Lvov, but the next day I had a flight to catch. Lvov might look all nice with its Western architecture, but in fact, it's one of the only cities that was never really liberated from the Nazis, ideologically. And to make it even worse for me, this hub of fascism, I was staying with a Jewish family. I prayed that no neo-Nazi would break into this apartment while I'm there. I made sure my room was locked properly.
Калиновка, просим вас оставаться на своих местах до полного отспадения самолета. Погодьте сразу световой табло, зашпилить рогами. Будьте осторожны, прокройте.
Among those trees lived my grandfather, my father's father, Israel Tratzvitsky, for 2.5 years as a partisan. I came here to meet a lonely biology professor who lives in the heart of the forest. He will take me to the deep swamps where my grandfather's partisan camp lies. It's illegal to make unauthorized documentaries in Belarus, so I didn't want the professor to know that I'm shooting one. So I told him that I'm walking with the camera because I'm a wildlife photographer and that I like World War II history. While pretending to be a wildlife photographer, I realized that a wildlife photographer's job is to harmonize and contain nature. But nature is chaotic and paradoxical. Nature is a place of amorality. And just like the chaos and amorality of nature, it's difficult to make sense of the chaos of war. And in that chaos was where those partisans found themselves, naked of all possessions, protecting their existence with their bare naked hands, fighting the elements, the snow, the hail, the frost, fighting the wild beasts that roamed this area.
Asymmetric track, no claw mark, and every track asymmetric. Some digital part and smaller digital part. And look in wolf, it's much bigger digital part, symmetric. Look, what this wolf, what this bigger and rounder. This is 4. Footprint. This is high. This track more or less symmetric, bigger with claw mark. This look.
The partisans surely knew how to track more than just animals. This slice of land used to be a huge swamp. Here, the partisans were the masters of the land. The Germans couldn't get in here in any other way but by foot. And since the partisans all came from the surrounding area, they had the upper end. This was their territory. They've built themselves a camp and named it Jerusalem Camp. From here, the professor insisted on taking me to see some Boeing beavers. So, I was just waiting for the right moment to ditch him and run straight to the swamp. I don't think that professor even tried to run after me. A Holocaust survivor from Auschwitz once wrote in a book that despite the horrors, once in a while the prisoners of the extermination camp would stop just to notice a majestic sunset, or a blooming flower, or a colorful butterfly. They must have had it similar here. Surely my grandpa, Israel Tratzwitsky, while he was walking in the deep muds of Naliboki, after his father, mother, sister, and 3 brothers were slaughtered by the Nazis, he saw something similar. Probably after the wars ended, he left the forest and went back to his former village. A village that wasn't really far away from here. He surely wanted to see what was left, and who maybe have survived the war. What has left after everything was annihilated. I found myself in the foothills of a demolished ancient castle. Another civilization that was here once. When my grandpa left the forest, he surely first came through this midway town, Novogrodek, and stood right here, observing the village town. And what he saw probably wasn't that different from what I was seeing. Little kids were coming back from school, but even then he knew already that his little brothers and sister weren't. I'm on my way there, to my grandpa's town, Rodishets. In 75 years, nothing new was built in Novogrodek, except only one thing. Sometime in the 90s, a Jewish fellow from Israel came to Rodishets. He knocked on the house that was his parents' house before World War II. A fat middle-aged dude with a repellent smell of vodka opened the door. When he heard that the parents of this Israeli fellow were from this village, and in fact, that this was their house, he broke a beer bottle and started chasing the Jewish fellow in the streets, trying to kill him. He was afraid he might lose his stolen house. This is the main street. From here they all were taken to be shot in the woods. That night, before I went to my grandfather's house in Rodishets and possibly got stabbed to death by some fat vodka-drinking Belarusian neo-Nazi, I had one last night to relax. You may guess who lived in those wooden houses until the spring of 1941. Today, this place could have been a movie set for a post-apocalyptic film. No people could be found here. No sound could be heard here. Only that church bell, ringing in a never-ending tune. When I was walking in the village, I saw the house that years ago that Israeli knocked on its door. The house was abandoned. The same ground that fat vodka-drinking neo-Nazi almost killed for. I guess a land has no value if there's nobody to value it. On this country road, my grandfather walked with his entire family and 1,000 of the town's Jews. The Nazis told them to come with shovels. They were all being led deep into the nearby forest. What are a man's thoughts as he is led to the gallows? Does he ponder if he left the water running? If he forgot to send that letter to his cousin? Does he think about Socrates, or Seneca, or Solomon the Wise? Does he think how beautiful life was? Does he think that in a different world he could have been friends with his executors? Does he pray to God?